Greetings everyone, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, here to bring you another episode review from Season 6 of The Loud House. Today's episode is titled Musical Chairs. First we'll discuss the plot, and then my thoughts and critiques with my final score. So, let's get right into it. In this episode, Lincoln wants to change seats in Mr. Bolhofner's class so he no longer has to deal with Chandler antagonizing him. After failing to butter him up by trying to get on his good side, Lincoln convinces his dad to allow his teacher to join his band, and he gets a new seat in class as a result. However, Bolhofner can't stand the doodad style of music and angrily changes the band's sound and image to the point where not only the doodads want him gone, but Lincoln effectively fires his teacher from the band after a terrible concert at his dad's restaurant. The episode ends with Lincoln being allowed to keep his new seat in class after Bolhofner has a moment of reflection on how he handled himself with the doodads, telling Lincoln he's okay in his book for standing up for what's right. Well, that concludes the plot of the episode, so now we come to my thoughts and critiques. Most of the time, I try to find the good in any and all characters, and I try to sympathize with their emotional plight. But sometimes there are just certain characters you simply can't feel bad for anymore, and Mr. Bolhofner is one of them. Despite having a lot of emotional problems given his strange history from years past before going into teaching, he's just not worth defending anymore. All I'm going to say is his character was handled a lot better in Rumor Has It, where he was more tolerable and had a much more believable on-screen moment of redemption after he saved Lincoln and his friends from a wild bear. He kinda does a similar rescue with Lincoln being carried off when they encounter a bear in this episode, but it was mostly a quick joke in Lincoln's attempt to sway his teacher into moving his seat in class. Perhaps the most disappointing part of Bolhofner's character in this episode was how there was a small glimmer of hope for him in the beginning that was quickly washed away. Lincoln and Clyde found out he likes to play the bass drum and always wanted to join a band. I mean, he got super excited about the idea of Lincoln offering him the chance to try out for the doodads, last seen in the episode Dad Reputation, and he was quickly accepted into the band with open arms. Of course, it made for some awkward sounding music, but you could tell by the look on everyone's faces, especially Bolhofner's, that everything was going to be fine and it was going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, that didn't last too long. Bolhofner started raging over how the band performed and how they looked, and effectively scared everyone into changing their name from the Doodads to the Raging Bolhofners. Like, okay, it's not even his band, and yet he took control of it? Seriously, how did this sudden change in Bolhofner come about? He wasn't trashing the cowbells when he first joined, and out of nowhere he has everyone dressing up as Vikings and playing very disjointed music that sends everyone away screaming for their lives. Maybe that's what he's into, but the rest of the doodads hated it and wanted him gone, and I can see why. However, I will give them a point for allowing him to stay after Lincoln explains his situation at school. He only got his seat moved because he got Bolhofner into the band and worried he would have to go back to his old seating arrangement with Chandler if Bolhofner got kicked out. These dads say helping their sons is what they do, and making that kind of sacrifice for Lincoln was kinda nice. Putting your kids before yourself is what a good parent does. But in the end, Lincoln takes a stand and fires Bolhofner from the band and says he's willing to put up with Chandler if that's what it takes to make the doodads happy again. He didn't have to do that, but just like the band of dads, Lincoln was making a sacrifice for someone else. Regardless of how you choose to look at it, at least on the surface of that current moment, someone would have had to deal with Bolhofner, and someone was going to be miserable no matter what. It sort of blurs the line between what's considered selfish and selfless, but I can see the nobility behind their decisions. Surprisingly, Lincoln got to keep his new seat after Bolhofner came to realize, off screen mind you, how he had a lot to learn about playing nice with others. Oh gee, really? What was your first clue? He then gives a speech about something he said earlier in the episode, and it really aggravated me when he first said it. He said in the beginning that hardship builds character, and he basically tried to rationalize Chandler's behavior after Lincoln tells his teacher about how awful it is sitting in front of him. Is it just me, or did Bolhofner just openly admit to being totally cool with his students getting bullied in class because it helps to toughen them up? That would probably make sense if he wasn't a teacher, but since he is a teacher, I can see why most people don't like him and don't trust him if that's the kind of logic he uses to more or less defend bullying even if he sees it happening right in front of him. He then goes on to say that standing up for what's right builds character as well, and seems to imply he respected Lincoln for taking a stand against him. A little phoned-in moment of redemption that doesn't carry that much weight in the grand scheme of things, but at the bare minimum, Lincoln was allowed to keep his new seat after he assumed he would have to go back to his old one following his teacher's termination from the band. So he and the doodads at least got their respective happy endings. And finally, the last character worth addressing is the generic bully, Chandler McCann. At this point, he will never change who he is, and it's episodes like this and Broadcast Blues that make it all so clear. I still don't get what his motivation is for picking on Lincoln in particular, and why he feels the need to go out of his way to humiliate him. I guess because Bolhofner practically enables Chandler to act the way he does because hardship builds character. I can see why this little punk never feels guilty in what he does, since it's very obvious the teacher is going to have his back. But hey, he did get his comeuppance in the end. Quite literally, actually. I know it's not going to change who he is, but seeing Chandler on the receiving end of something that he would do to someone else just feels very satisfying, and that's the kind of ending we can all enjoy. Overall, this episode had a good idea in the beginning, and it looked like it was going to turn out to be an okay episode at best, but it was a character like Bolhofner that derailed everything. From him giving a green light to Chandler to allow Lincoln to get bullied, to suddenly becoming a tyrant in a band he wanted to join after he was super excited about being given the opportunity, it makes you feel like the episode, rumor has it, was just a complete waste of time. Lincoln only wanted a better seat in class, and he got it by pulling some strings for a guy who really doesn't deserve anything from anyone. He and the doodads made individual sacrifices for the benefit of someone else, and at least they all got a happy ending after putting up with a guy who continues to fall further on my list of worst characters in the series. The only redeeming things about this episode were Lincoln being allowed to keep his new seat and Chandler getting what he deserved during the final few seconds. It's not a lot to save the episode in the long run, but it's better than nothing. With that said, I give Musical Chairs a 4.3 out of 10. Well folks, that concludes my review of Musical Chairs. I will end this review with something that got me thinking about a potential episode idea for the future. Apparently Bolhofner wrote a survival guide, and judging by the opening lecture he gave on whales at the beginning of the episode, on top of learning more about his past, I feel it's only a matter of time before he and wilderness survival expert Rip Hardcore have an episode together. Now that's a character pairing I would like to see. It may turn out to be a disaster of an episode like this one, but it's something to think about. So as far as this episode goes, what did you guys think of it? Love it? Hate it? Something you would add? Change? Keep it as it is? Let me know in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe to this channel for the latest Loud House content. That's going to do it for me. I'll catch you guys for the next video, but until then, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, signing off. Peace out, home slices.